Hey there, ghosties. Welcome to episode 72 of the Ghost Lights podcast. Today's guest, Len Mateo, the artistic director of Miners Alley Playhouse. We talked to him about how his love of theater developed, where that took him from New York to Taos, all the way back to Evergreen and Golden, as we now know and love him from. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy this journey. Dan, give me War by the Hypnotic Brass Ensemble. Hey there, ghosties. It's episode 72 of the Ghost Lights podcast, and it is your boy, Sam Gilstrap. I'm not the GOAT, but I do fit the description, and that's greatest of all time. I hope you're with me today. We have a great special guest that honestly, folks, it's been a long time coming. He's meant the world to me a lot in my latter years of my career. The man is Len Mateo. Len Mateo, how the hell are you, sir?
I'm doing good, man. And honestly, the honor is totally mine, man. I am just so, you've really made something of this podcast. It's really amazing what you've done.
Thank you.
You know, I remember when you first started, I listened to a couple of them. I'm gonna be just brutally honest. I listened to a couple and I went, oh, that's cute. You know, Sam's having conversations with his tape player. You know what I mean? And then I started listening to these. I'm like, dude, my man has a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, you are a badass, Sam Gilstrap.
Oh, thank you very much.
Congratulations for making something. I think obviously that our theater community loves and that we need, especially, you know, when there's so little theater going on. But thank you for just being a guy who never gives up and keeps going for it and keeps getting better, because it's fucking awesome, man.
Well, thank you, Len. I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. I'll definitely be I'll be the first to say that I think the explosion, if you will, of what this podcast has become is thanks in large part to my producer, Dan Ribb. Everyone on the God mic, say hi to Dan Ribb. He's out there.
Dan Ribb's a legend, man.
Yeah,
I'm just like looking at him going, is that Dan Ribb?
Yeah, it is. He's probably sipping whiskey and stretching on a yoga mat, you know, just keeping it real loose, real limber. He's available.
Shout out to New Terrain Brewing Company, Atlantis Hazy Day IPA.
Ooh, yeah, I got some of that in my fridge.
The unofficial sponsor.
Yeah, they are right down the road from me in Golden.
Man, I love that beer. Hail Atlantis.
Yeah, they have you been to the brewery?
Oh, many a time.
It is just a vibe, man. It's right next to the dog park. Yeah. And if you don't like dogs, don't go. But I mean, but there's just dogs everywhere. And during the winter, when you can only have like 5 people gathering, we would just sit outside with heaters on, drinking beer and chilling and, you know, making the most of a shitty situation. You know, it was awesome. Yeah.
I love that space.
Am I allowed to curse on your podcast?
Fucking yeah, you are. Yeah, you're allowed to cuss all you want. Right. Yeah, well, I mean, if it gets really blue, when I do my intro later, I'll cut it and like, ladies and gentlemen, this episode is rated blue. Keep the kids away.
So you don't want to be blue by missing this.
No, and if you do listen to this at work, make sure those headphones are on.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Especially around minute 30, where we just start saying the F word over and over again for no reason.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
So easy.
Yeah. Well, but we could totally cuss. It's going to be fine. I really wanted, I'm glad I got you on, because I mean, the NFL draft just ended and you're like the first guest I could talk to about what the Broncos did. How do you feel about the Broncos draft?
I know you think I'm a big sports fan, but honestly, I'm a fake sports fan.
Hey man, I just know that you put it on. That's all.
Oh, I do. And I love it. Before I get into the draft, I'll just get into the basic history of me in sports.
Let's do it.
Total doofus, didn't play sports. I joined the football team in high school for 1 year so I could get the jacket so that I could get laid. You know what I mean? And get a varsity football jacket. Mm-hmm. I was a defensive tackle, and honestly, I just stand there and block. I mean, that's all I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's all I did. And when I moved to Colorado, I was offered season tickets to the Broncos. They're not I have tickets and they're not mine. Someone else owns them.
Mm.
And every year he just gives them to me. And because we're not blood family, he can't literally give them to me. So I just buy them from him at cost, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Which is nice. And that was in 2005. And then I thought, it's a business thing. You know what I mean? I'll take some business people to football games and I'll have a good time. It'll be fun, drink some beers. I totally got into it. I was like, no one's good. I'm going to every game. I would like leave the stadium hoarse. And I'd never really been into sports like that before. And I just became a fan. I still have I remember the first jersey I bought was a Cutler jersey.
Oh,
and
no.
I was so upset the next year. I was so fucking angry. And I have it. I should show it to you at some point. I'll go get it. I still have it. It has duct tape over his name and duct tape over his number. And I would wear it to the stadium in anger, when we'd be tailgating, and it was, and it was cuck fuckler, all that stuff going around. And it was, But anyway, in answer to your question, I think we did good in the draft. I think it's a what's the word? I think it's a very confident stance in our quarterbacks. Because everybody, everyone's saying, we need to get a QB. We have a great team, but we're missing the key ingredient. You know what I mean? It's like bread without flour, flourless chocolate cake. It's good a little bit, but we need some cake. So it's and it feels like, with Bridgewater, and Locke, competing against each other, and this whole Aaron Rodgers, thing going on. I think I'm excited for the season. I can't really speak too much detail about the draft, but I can tell you I'm excited about the season.
Are you going to go to any games?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I didn't go to any last year only because it just sounded depressing and and I don't know. I was just not into it. My head was somewhere else last year. I mean, we could talk about that for a long time, but I wasn't really following football. And then when we started just sucking so badly, I was just like, I'm going to do other things. Yeah. But I plan on going. I can't wait to get in the stadium, and see those skydivers come in and and hear some ZZ Top and the cheerleaders run on and and just yell and scream, and we should go.
I'm down.
We should
I'm
go.
vaccinated. Let's make it happen.
I am too, man.
Yeah, we'll
I'm vaccinated and I had COVID.
Yeah, and you bounce back.
COVID can bite me.
Yeah.
I am so over that damn thing. I am telling you.
Yeah. I think that's the sentiment shared pretty worldwide.
No, dude,
you're absolutely right.
So in October, I got COVID. And then it was a mild case, but it was scary because I could really feel it in my lungs. And, that's kind of scary when you can't breathe and you have trouble breathing.
Yeah.
But I never had to be hospitalized. And then just when I think I'm getting better, my lungs start hurting again. I'm negative for COVID and I have pneumonia.
Oh, God.
Then and now I'm kind of long hauling on the lungs. I'm exercising all the time.
Good.
Just to strengthen my lungs. Then I get the COVID vaccine and it makes me feel like I have COVID again. Oh. But only for 12 hours, but still it sucked. And honestly, if a doctor said to me, now you have to get another booster next month, I'd be like, fuck you, dude. Too soon. Too soon. No more COVID. I am done with COVID for a while, man.
Oh, wow. I'm glad you've bounced back and you're looking good. You're sounding good.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, it's not just the Zoom lighting. You are glowing, Len.
As are you, my friend.
Well,
as are you.
That's
all you got. You look so fucking chill. I mean,
it's these basement lights, man. I got my dog right next to me.
Oh yeah, I saw the love affair going on Facebook with that dog. That's a nice looking dog.
Mike is a cutie. He's a cutie. I got to keep him around. We'll keep him around for sure.
Oh, he looks lovely.
Yeah. Len.
Yes.
Theater.
Theater.
How did it happen to you?
Oh man. So I was my as background, my father was a professional actor,
Mhm.
and he left acting to make a living, to pay bills, and got into advertising as a writer. You know, he's a copywriter. So, you know, he was always an artist in that way.
Mhm.
My mom, you know, tried to be an actor, but really wasn't her thing. You know, she went to acting school, but it really wasn't her thing. And that's just a little background to tell you that when I started growing up, I really wasn't interested in it.
Mhm.
I was a very strange kid. I was not I wouldn't call myself a nerd. I wasn't doing what would be because I'm 57. So, you know, I wasn't doing the equivalent of Dungeons and Dragons or anything like that. I wasn't your typical theater geek, but I I was just I was kind of always an outsider,
Mm.
you know?
Mhm.
And then I fell in with the kind of like the drug crowd in my early teens, you know, just smoking a lot of pot and drinking a lot, and
Mhm.
getting suspended from school and all that stuff. But at the same time, I was playing rock. I was in a rock band and I was playing
What's the
music.
name of your rock band?
Uh, Late for dinner, um,
Nice.
and and um, and we and it was great. I played rock. I played music. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I was into that. And then I remember knowing in my heart and in the bones of my body that I was going to die if I kept hanging out with these people. Meaning, at the age of 16, I was doing we called it freebase. It's basically crack. You know, I
Mhm.
was doing cocaine. I was doing a lot of drugs, and for some reason, I was told to audition for the theater in high school. And this is
Yeah.
my junior year, and I auditioned for the show Sweet Charity, and I get the part of Big Daddy, which is the
Mhm.
preacher guy, and then other small parts. Um, and I just took to it, you know. I just and so, but what happened was now I was hanging out with a new friend group,
Mm.
so I had to ride this line between my burnout friends and the theater kids, which are theater kids, you
Mhm.
know. They're a lot of them are like really geeky. None of them are like me. I'm kind of like this other side of the tracks kid who curses, you
Mhm.
know, and all these kids are, you know, like really good students, like, oh, you know, the theater kids,
Mhm.
you know, but I was hanging out with them and I'm like, why do they get a lounge? You know, and I was like, what's going on here? You know? And then I did a couple of small parts in Pippin. And then senior year, I played the lead in our high school play, which was I played Harold Hill in The Music Man.
Ah.
And clearly theater was my thing. I mean, I was kind of a star in my little high school, you know,
Mhm.
and I was also hanging out with this whole new group of people. So I decided to audition for theater schools. You know, I had no goal. My parents were like, you should go to college. I'm like, what am I going to study? I guess theater, because that's what I do.
Mhm.
You know. Oh, I remember there was I in one of my English classes, one of the English teachers wanted us to do scenes from plays, and I did a scene from the play Mr. Roberts, where I played the captain. I can't remember his name, but it was the part that what was his name? Humphrey Bogart? No. Anyway, but I did that, and it turned me on to theater. And that teacher was the one who made me get into drama. So of
Oh wow.
course it was a teacher, right?
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
and the beauty of this, the whole time, my parents are kind of artsy people, and they don't they're very recluse. They have hardly any friends. All they do for fun is go out to dinner at really nice restaurants and go to see shows on Broadway. I lived like 15 miles outside of Manhattan,
Mhm.
and they go to see shows on Broadway. So I start going with them to see stuff, to go to theater, and not just Broadway, but all of the great theaters. They were subscribers. So Playwrights Horizons, Manhattan Theater Club, Circle in the Square, Circle Rep, um, those were their subscriptions. And so I got to see some amazing theater when I was a kid.
Mhm.
And then of course into college, and all of that. So theater kind of saved my life in the sense of it got me away from that crowd that was going to kill me. You know what I mean? It gave me, and I realized that I was really good at it, and I wanted to be a star. Kevin Kline was one of my role models, as an actor, because he did everything. I mean, he is a great stage actor. He's a great musical theater artist. He's a great film actor, and he's a great director. He's Kevin Kline. He's kind of legendary. He was legendary for me. But that's kind of how it started. Wow. And then I went to college and pursued it there.
Nice. Did you find the transition between friend groups difficult?
Very.
But
I knew that I didn't want to. It's like if you've ever smoked cigarettes before and then you stop smoking. Mm-hmm. The smokers may be your friends, but you're not going to smoke. You know what I mean? You might in the beginning a little bit because you don't want to let them down and you want to be friends. But I just switched friends group. I tried to, like, if I see them in the hallway, I'd be like, hey, how's it going? But then it would be bye and gone, Mm-hmm. And so I mean, I lived in a neighborhood. I lived in a little town called Ardsley, New York, which is near Dobbs Ferry, Yonkers, that area. And in my town, there were basically three cultures of people. There was a Jewish kind of population, mm-hmm. And there was a lower class kind of Catholic, Christian population, and probably something in the middle. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there was also a housing project, which was mostly Black. Mm-hmm. And I grew up with the Christian Catholic kids, mm-hmm. and I ended up hanging out with the other kids. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it was, and that's been a story in my life though, dude. I've always crossed different worlds. Like, on a part of my life, I worked training some of the best lawyers in the country. Mm-hmm. Literally. I mean, some of the best trial lawyers argued before the Supreme Court. And the other part, I'm hanging out doing this podcast. Yeah. And I've always been straddling business and art worlds, and all those different worlds, as well as, being best friends with the mailman. You know what mm-hmm. I mean? It's just been who I am. Yeah. But it was difficult. You picked up on that. Yeah, it was definitely difficult.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like, for one, those friendships that you have in high school and sometimes middle school, if they last that long, I mean, they're hard to quote unquote grow out of on their own. And if there's a foundation of some type of extracurricular activity or
right.
indulgences like that's almost seemed to be the cement that keeps you guys together, it must be really difficult to.
So the result of that was very well said. The result of that is that I don't have any buddies from high school. I occasionally see people, meet them through Facebook, and we hang out, we reminisce, and they always bring up memories of me, and I'm like, geez, I don't remember any of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I kind of just burned it, and went on and left town, and then so yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things I'm intrigued by is like, so your folks are involved in the arts. They transition out of it as they get older around you. There's not a natural, not say natural, but there's not an urgency in you until high school to become an actor. And then to use your words, there was a desire to be a star.
Sure. Yeah.
What was it that, like, yes, that turned that light on for you?
I think we can all relate to this on some level. When it's the thing you're good at, when it's the thing everyone tells you you're great at, when people tell you should do this, you know what I mean? That you're, when you've been told you've not been good at anything, and then suddenly everyone is clapping and telling you how great you are. That's what it was. You know what I mean? I came to the realization really quick when I lived in New York that my goal was to be a working actor. I didn't have hopes of Hollywood. I didn't have hopes of movies. I didn't have hopes of it. I really wanted to be a stage actor, but a working actor.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I wanted to make a living at that and then see where that went. The dream job was to get on a soap, because they were all filmed in New York, was to get on a soap opera and have this great day job and then do theater at night. You know what I mean? And make a living, and honestly, a good living. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, that was the dream for a lot of actors. This is in the late 80s, early 90s. You know what I mean? This was the dream. You know, we didn't have cell phones. We had pagers. You know what I mean? We had calling services, phone services. You know.
Did you make it onto a soap? Like this week's special guest on General Hospital.
Soap, dude. Oh my God. I would audition for soaps, and I would basically, I had a really handsome look for a long time. You know.
Still do.
Oh, start. But you know, I had this. You know, I had a head of hair. I wasn't fat. You know what I mean? I was kind of like, you know, I wasn't a middle-aged, you know, balding white guy. And I would go to these soap auditions. I even took soap classes, but I would just read the scripts and I would just be laughing inside at how stupid they were. Because in my theater classes, I'm doing Shepard, you know, I'm doing Arthur Miller. And then I would just try to act. I would try to find stuff in it instead of just do it. And I would try to find stuff in it, and it'd just be like, dude, I'd be doing a soap scene and I'd just be thinking I'm in a Steppenwolf play and I'm like this, you know, and I'm bouncing around and like this. And they'd just be like, you're so wrong for this medium. I was so wrong for television in general. I was just so wrong, because the theater I grew up loving, and I mean loving, was Steppenwolf, was Circle in the Square, you know, Circle Rep, you know. I mean, some of the most exciting performances I saw as a young man before I was 21, 22, in that whole time period, was, you know, John Malkovich doing Burn This, the original production of Hurly Burly, you know, the original production of Orphans, you know, which was just this balls to the wall, slam down theater, you know what I mean? And I just was like, and that was the theater that excited me. The small space, the small theater, you know, where it didn't just reach across and grab you, it just punched you in the chest. And I was like, that's what I want to do, man. I want to do that. And then when I went to England and I saw Shakespeare being done like that by the Royal Shakespeare Company and the National, I said, holy shit, you can do Shakespeare like that too? Where it punches you like that? You know, it's not a ephemeral experience, you know. It's actually like you're really into the. I was like, holy shit, this is great stuff. So I was just excited by the art form, you know, the fact of that just making somebody feel, somebody, you know, making them cry. You know, that's there's a saying, I can't remember, some film director said it, but I'm stealing it, but it was make them laugh, make them cry, scare the shit out of them. You know, that's a good show. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's true though, that you can experience all those emotions. And the older you get, you realize how cathartic that is. As a young man, it's cathartic, but you don't know why. You know what I mean? But when you get older, you realize, fuck, I need to cry more. You know what I mean? Or I need to laugh more. Or, you know, I need some excitement in my life. I need to get into a flow state, you know, which is like watching a good movie on Netflix is flow. Playing on your phone is flow. And I think theater does that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just exciting. It was always exciting to me, you know?
Absolutely. What were some of the things in college specifically that when you were taking your classes that you really, that excited you, like individually? Like, was it like the table work? Was it like dissecting the script and putting in punctuation, things like that? Like, where did that excitement brew from?
We had theater again. Remember, I went to college 2 hours from Manhattan. So as students, not on some kind of planned trip, we would sometimes just go to New York and just see a show and get in a lot of freaking trouble. You know what I mean? And you just, you know, let's go buy some pot, you know, something like that. You know, really stupid stuff. But in school, our school had this affiliation with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and the chairman of the department, he he had this affiliation with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and they were in rep my senior year in New York doing Much Ado About Nothing in Cyrano. And Derek Jacobi was doing Cyrano and Benedict. And what's her name? Sinead Cusack was doing Roxanne, and Beatrice. And they came up to our school to do a staged reading of Christmas Carol to raise money for the school. And we got to hang out with them. And then we got to do what turned out to be the first staged professional British pantomime, because they brought it to our school and they helped us through it. So my blessing, the gift I was given without knowing I was getting this gift, was I was constantly exposed to this great theater. I learned a lot in my class. I did acting class. It was never about technique and experience till I started doing acting/directing stuff, which I talked about that guy Vivian Madelon. But I was just seeing great theater, and you can't unsee it. Do you know what I mean? When you finally see a scene done, or you see an actor on stage, not talking on film, on stage, and you see that, and then you see a whole cast like that, and then you see a bunch of shows like that throughout the year, you're like, this is how it's done, And so that, to me, I don't remember learning a lot in college, except being excited by the atmosphere and wanting to get to New York or Chicago and just work. You know what I mean? That was what it was. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. So then how did your early professional careers get started?
It went great on paper, and then it just went down the tubes. And then I met a woman, got married, and then she convinced me to support the family, and I stopped acting. It was actually, I wouldn't have changed anything now that I look back on it.
Yeah.
But at the time, I mean, when I started, I left college with an agent in New York. He came up to see me in a show, and he said, I want to rep you. And it's a really funny story. He sent me, but he was a manager/agent. A lot of managers were also agents, so they could submit. They weren't just managing you, they could also submit. And he said, I want you to take an acting class with one of my clients named Sally Kirkland. And if you look back, Sally Kirkland she had a big moment in the late 80s, early 90s. She was nominated for an Oscar for a film she did. And, it came and gone, but but I went to her acting class, and it was so fucking weird and so stupid that I walked out. No, I mean, she's on a God mic in a dance studio. First of all, I thought that was weird. I'm like, we can hear you. And it was just, and I remember I walked out, and my manager got really mad at me that I embarrassed him. But my career went really well in the beginning. I got a show that went off Broadway, so I got my equity card because I got in a show they said, okay, we're taking this off Broadway. If you're not equity, you're gonna have to be equity. You need to join. So I got contract that way. So I got my card. I did a really good production of Coriolanus at the McCarter Theater in Princeton. I was just a spear carrier, but it was a great moment of being in the professional room. I was directed by Liviu Ciulei, the great Romanian director, who directed Kevin Kline in Hamlet, The Public, that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And so I had all this great stuff, and then everything just slowed down for a while. And I realize now in retrospect, and then here's where the change happened. So started off great. I started taking acting classes to just keep honing my craft. A lot of good actors would just be in acting class if they weren't working. And I found a drop-in type style class I could take with Terry Schreiber. He was a Broadway director. He directed K2 when I was on Broadway, and I had a great time with his classes. And that's where I met this teacher, Vivian Madelon, who taught by directing. His acting classes were just directing. He would just direct you in the scene. He would just make the scene better. he would just say, he would teach you how to tell the story through the craft of acting. And then I realized I want to do that as much as I want to act. I want to shape a scene and make it really good.
Mm.
And then somewhere in there, I got a part-time job at a health club. I thought, oh, this is going to be a great job because I can have a free health club membership. Everyone's got to be in shape, and I can work, choose my hours and all this. I suddenly went from making $20,000 a year living in a hole in New York to making like $75,000 a year, just because I was really good at sales.
Mm.
And
Wow.
then I had a producer with Time Warner tell me, and many times people have heard this, but there was a truth to it. She said, if you can do anything else well, or anything else and enjoy it, you should, because this life sucks. I mean, if it's all you can do, great, do it. But it's a hard life. It'll be hard to make a living. You'll be on unemployment. You'll be waiting tables, and it's a long haul life. Another thing I didn't know at the time, all the actors that were making it, whether they were less talented than me, and a lot of them were, at least I felt so, but they were in it for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
They were like 10, 15, 20 years just plugging away, and then they got their break. You know, like that guy who was in the movie Sound of Metal, the deaf guy. You know, he's been in LA and on stages all his life for 40 years, and suddenly now people know who he is, right? Yeah. It's that kind of stuff. But that's the game. And I have a lot of friends in New York still from my theater school who are like that. They're just working their ass off. They're not famous by any means, but it's what they do. And they're making a living. The union is their life. You know what I mean? And I guess I decided that I want to do that, but I don't want to live that way. I actually enjoyed this idea of making money, and never in a gauche way. Just, you know, I like the idea of supporting myself, having a nice apartment, and being able to get a car, you know? And so you know, all these, again, me going into another world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got to, yeah. So anyway, it goes, man. It's a long story. I hope you got time.
Oh man, I'm here for you, so we can go till the morning if you want.
I'm here for you.
I got a cup of coffee that I brewed this morning, so I'll make an iced cup. A cup of iced coffee will be good. So you meet someone, you get married. Did you stay in New York? When did you get to Colorado? Is what I'm asking.
So I was married to her for 5 years, and I like to tell people she was the witch of my dreams. You know, she was it was not a good, it was great, but it was not good. We ended up getting divorced. I'm really making a long story short. My wife, Lisa DiCaro, says she was the rehearsal marriage. You know what I mean? She taught me how to fold towels, how to, you know, clean the sheets. You know, she taught me some basic life skills I need to be a husband.
Wait, you know how to fold a fitted sheet?
Did I say know how to fold a fitted sheet? I can fold a sheet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I know how to fold a fitted sheet. You just put it together and you try to make it look nice and you put it in the thing.
Yeah, because that, like, if you could do that, I was like, we are going to have a 10-minute conversation. Life hacks with Len Mateo.
Yeah, right. No, I got divorced, and then I went through a real big depression after it. And I was very successful in this health club business. I was making really good money, and a consultant said, hey, I know of a guy in Taos, New Mexico, or he said just in Taos, who has a health club, and he's looking for someone to run it. He lives in New York, but you want to meet him? And I thought he said Tahoe. I didn't know he said Taos. I'm like, I don't even know what Taos is. Yeah. I've never really been anywhere else in the country except the East Coast. So I go out to Taos. There's tumbleweed everywhere. I'm like, no, I don't want to live here. I come back and tell the guy I don't want to do it. And he offers me more money. I say, I don't want to do it. And then he offers me more money. And then he says, look, what's the worst that can happen? You don't like it, you quit, you go back to New York. And I thought, sage advice.
Very sage.
So I left New York and moved to Taos. Total fish out of water, new adventure, left it all behind. I a lot of my friends were like, I can't believe you're doing this. You're so brave. It's so cool. I'm like, really? I didn't, but I guess in retrospect, it was kind of a radical move for city boy to move to Taos. I just taken up skiing and I really loved it. And so I started, I just started this whole new lifestyle in Taos. And that's when I met my wife, Lisa Caro, living in Taos. And then I started doing theater again. And the beauty of doing theater in Taos, first of all, Taos, if you've ever been to Taos or Santa Fe, there's a lot of people there who live there. And I was one of them who were really wounded and are taking care of themselves. They're looking for something. There's a saying in Taos, the mountain either takes you in or it spits you out. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of one of those things. And I definitely got taken in, but I found the theater group there and it was really good. And I mean, in retrospect, it was community theater, right? But it was really good. I mean, our set designer was the set designer for Forrest Gump. You know what I mean? So, and he was a wounded guy from Hollywood living in Taos. You know what I mean? It's that kind of group of people. And I started doing theater, but for the first time, it was for me. I wasn't trying to do it and saying, who's going to come? Is there going to be an agent, going to be there? You always were trying to figure out how to sell. And I was just doing theater because I wanted to do theater. And I had a great time and I was loving it. And then I met Lisa, and then a total new adventure. Started teaching the lawyers, and that's a whole nother story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was where I learned the principle of yes and where I learned the principle of, and I mean in life, not just in like in improv, as we all know, but I mean the principle of yes and in life, and being unashamed of asking for help and not trying to go it alone. And those two principles that I figured out starting that business have propelled me into life. You know what I mean? In the best way possible. Of course, I had a partner with me the whole time, to create synergy. Our definition of synergy is 1 + 1 = 10. And it really became that way. We were known, especially among the teaching world, as the Len and Lisa show, because you really would rarely see us not teaching together.
Oh, wow.
The theater community doesn't know us like that much, but that's
not at all.
No, I mean, interestingly, one of the biggest shows Lisa and I did that hardly anyone saw was we did a production of Speed the Plow with Modern Muse, and it was me and Lisa and Eric Tisey, and Lee Macero directed it. And it got great reviews, so we used to always do stuff together, and then we moved to Evergreen, and found and decided to make that our home, and tried to take that to a new level, that theater, from a community theater, to a little bit of a professional theater, professionals. We tried to take it up a level. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And, yeah.
Did you feel like that was something incumbent upon you when you got there, or was it just like a natural progression of working with that theater?
Natural progression. We got in there. They were our community. We love them. We still love them. We know a lot of them. Some of the best people you ever want to meet run the Evergreen Players. Honestly, it's just a great group.
I've had the good fortune of working up there.
We, interestingly, me and Brenda had, when we knew each other up there, we tried to get we wanted to run the Evergreen Players, and make that kind of this theater that we took to a new level. And they weren't interested, in the sense of they liked the vibe they'd created. And it's a great vibe, man. I mean, they said, you know what? Like John Davis and John and Kathleen, they were like, yeah, we don't want to pay the actors more, because then we have to pay everyone more. You can't pay the actors more than the tech people, and you can't pay and I'm like, well, you can, it's like any job. You can have someone make it, but it was just kind of, I was trying to get more professional actors to come up the hill. You know what I mean? I was trying to do all this stuff. And then we realized that it wasn't going to happen,
Yeah.
But this isn't I hope no one reads this as a put down of the players, because again, they've done great work, but it wasn't the work I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But
Well, what was the work that you did want to do?
I wanted to run my own theater, and I wanted to, I had, from everything I just told you about seeing all that great theater, about doing theater, I have a very strong vision of what I think great theater is and what it looks like and how to make it. I kind of know how to make it, I think. You know, I mean, we have our ups and downs, but I think we consistently make really great theater at Miners Alley.
Yeah.
And there's almost a formula to it. You know what I mean? But I know how to do it.
What's that formula?
The formula is, first of all, recognizing that theater is a writer's and an actor's medium. So as a director, you got to get the fuck out of the way. And so you got to pick great scripts. It's about the script, and the actors are the primary tool of telling the story of that script. Unlike film, where the director is the primary tool of telling a lot of that story. You know what I mean? And so you need to pick great scripts, and you need to pick a great director, because the director will then pick the great actors, cast them to tell the great stories. And the great director needs to know how to take that ship from point A to point Z and tell that story. And the other thing I always knew, and this is from working with a lot of great actors, and you know this as well as I do, some of the greatest actors you'll work with are some of the most egotistical, crazy ass people you're ever going to meet.
Whoa,
right?
Whoa.
No, wait.
Yeah,
no,
keep going.
What I'm saying is, and I'm not, it's egotistical of me to say that, right? But my point is, that's why they're such fucking great actors. You know what I mean? They just put everything into it. But I realized that it's all about the audience. You know what I mean? We are essentially in the entertainment business. And I want to do it with the scripts I like and all that, but it's all about the audience having a theater experience. And a lot of theater makers are making theater for themselves, or they're making theater for their group. And by the way, that's cool. Do your art, man. And the great art comes out of that, you know, but what I wanted to do was to affect a lot of people with theater the way I was affected when I told you about me going to shows and just having that punch. And I just be like, I want everyone to freaking feel that. You know what I mean? I want everyone to have that experience and know what it's like to walk into a theater and have that experience. And sometimes it changes you, sometimes it doesn't. But that to me was the art. And that was the formula. And by the way, it's why I'm so attracted to small venues, you know, because it's much harder to do in a proscenium, right? A big house. But that to me is the real kind of formula, is shaping the way the actors tell the story, the way the playwright meant the story to be told. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That to me is the key. So there's a real kind of art of, it feels like conducting, emotional conducting. Meaning like as a director, you're watching the scene and you want the audience to go from here to really sad, to now I'm a little afraid, to, oh my God, what's going to happen in the scene? Blackout, intermission, shit. You know, but you want to drive them there. And the good script, it'll be there. But you as a director have to know that's what you're doing, as opposed to saying, actors, you guys figure it out. They're going to do a great damn job acting. You know what I mean? But sometimes you need the shaping, and honestly, you need the collaboration. You need that synergy, like I told you about with me and Lisa, where the actor is bringing stuff. I'm bringing stuff. The other actor's bringing stuff. You know, maybe even the set designer's bringing stuff. You know what I mean? And suddenly that scene becomes so much bigger than it could ever be if it was just two actors.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's, but with that leadership at the helm to make sure that playwright's story is being told. You know what I mean? Because again, it's the writer's medium.
Mhm.
You know,
Totally.
to me anyway.
No, I love what you're
That
saying
was a
there.
tangent, but
No. That's exactly where I was hoping that
Yeah.
portion of the conversation would go. You talked about a director letting go and getting, or rather getting out of the way of the actors and the playwright. How
Mhm.
does that look to you?
To me, here's how I approach a scene. Here's how I
Mhm.
approach working on a scene, and this is how it looks. I have an exact idea, usually, not all the time, but most of the time, of how that scene's going to play.
Mhm.
Because I literally, as good directors do, I play every part in my head. I've played every part. I know every part. I've scored every part as if I was acting every part.
Okay.
And I have an idea of how that scene is supposed to look and how I want the audience to feel. And then I start making the blocking work to that end, meaning that the blocking is also that the acting is driving the blocking is driving the acting. But then I let the actors figure it out.
Okay.
And if they if they can't, we do that with table work.
Yeah.
We do that with blocking and working. And if they can't, I have an answer, but I want them to find the answer themselves. And the beauty is 25% of the time, which is a lot, they have a better answer than I had.
Ah.
But the point is, I had an answer going in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
But they had so the collaboration. So I've been told, I've actually asked select people who I knew would tell me the truth. I said, "What's my reputation as a director in town?" And they said, "Well, people say you're an actor's director." And I said, meaning I can speak the language of actors and I let them work. I let them figure stuff out.
Yeah.
I let them find the stuff as opposed to, no, do it this way. No, do it this way. If they're really going to do it their way and they can't understand my way, I say, A, maybe my way's wrong. Or B, maybe I got to figure out how to make their way work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I cast them. You know what I mean? I'm not, I want to make this work.
Aside from acknowledging that theater is an actor's medium
and a writer's medium,
and actors and writers medium, what inside you helps steer you away from being a spoon-feeding director?
Well, unfortunately, I think I sometimes am a spoon-feeding director, and I hope I'm not. I make a real effort not to be. So maybe I'm good at that, not doing it. But unfortunately, I think I have a habit of, I can go there very easily.
Okay.
Meaning, because as I said, I have the answer in my head. I know what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? And I sometimes have to go, stop, look at what you're seeing and see how that feels. Be an audience member. Is that working? Actually, that might work a little better than what I was thinking. Maybe there's something I'm missing in this scene. Let's explore that a little bit. You know what I mean? But so sometimes I have to get out of my own way. But your question was, what stops me from being
or like where in your experience as an actor beforehand, because I'm assuming that's where it came from, did you cultivate this idea of how you were going to direct?
Oh, I can tell you exactly. I think I'm a good actor. I'm not a great actor. I'm a good actor. I'm competent. I get the scene. I think I'm a good scene partner. You know what I mean? I'm a good actor. Yeah. But I'm in my head too much. It's my curse. I'm in my head too much. Maybe now that I've been meditating for 3 years every day, maybe I won't be in my head as much. I don't know. Maybe it'll be worse. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I always knew how the scene should go. Now, directing myself in my head, it's the worst goddamn thing in the world in so many ways. I mean, you got to on some level. You got to, in your mind, in your imagination, make a choice and figure it out. I get it. It's not like you can't not do anything. But at the same time, it was getting in my way, but it was also my strength that I had a very strong vision of what this scene should sound like and look like. Yeah. Now, I might not have been executing it as well as an actor, but I had it. So that's what made me want to direct more, because I knew, well, I'm a really good teacher. I knew, because I'd been doing that professionally. I said, maybe if I can just teach people the vision I have in my head, I think the show is going to be great, because here's my ego. I know what this show fucking should be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said, so, but now if I can somehow communicate that vision to the audience and the actors, I'm going to do it. So,
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Owning a theater in Golden, what were some of the challenges you faced providing, like selecting programming, I guess? Like you wanted to set your own palette, but I'm wondering if there was pushback from the community ever.
Interestingly, there was pushback from Brenda when we started.
Okay.
And to her credit, I mean, Brenda would say, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that play yet. I don't know if this audience is ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Brenda was more level-headed. I wanted to immediately, like when we did HIR,
Mm-hmm.
back in 16, 17, whatever it was. I guess it was 16. That was a big deal. You know what I mean? To do that kind of show. But it was scary for Brenda. It was scary for me too, but it was really scary for her. But I've always had this belief, and I've been wrong in the past, which is my own judgment, but this belief that if the script is good enough, that it'll transcend all that stuff.
Okay.
Like for instance, when we did Fun Home, there's a epic story that many people in the theater community know, where we did a preview for a group, the Lions Club, which by the way, is a great group, meaning they do so much in the community of Golden and make so many people's lives better. I just want to throw that out there. It's total culture clash. Okay. We did a preview for this group. And the whole idea, the story of Fun Home, of two girls, young girls falling in love, they couldn't take it. A bunch of them just walked out during the preview. And then the Lion Club, to their credit, sent us notes and flowers saying, we're really sorry for some of our members being, although some of us may not have liked the show, that was just bad behavior. You don't act like they were really, but there was a real culture clash there. And of course that show was one of our most lauded shows that we did.
Absolutely.
But I think I can tell you this, I want to put on really good scripts. I don't have an agenda, even though I'm wearing a shirt with my political values on it. I don't have an agenda of trying to, make the world more diverse, make it a better place. But I do want to do really good scripts that make people think. And a lot of times those scripts are about all those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I pick something, I want to pick a script that has that punch. And those scripts are the scripts that are ballsy. I'm sorry. I mean, no, occasionally you come across a Neil Simon or a what's his name? His name's the guy who wrote Lend Me a Tenor.
Ludwig?
Ken Ludwig. Who just are such good writers that they just write comedy, and it's just so well done. It's so funny. The setups, the jokes, the story, everything, the characters, it's so beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And you can get shows like that, and they're great. But at the same time, you most of the time, the great scripts are examining things that make us either a little uncomfortable, but at the same time excite us. You know all this. I mean, but we had a saying in Evergreen, which is where the saying came from, but we did it a little bit in Golden. If we were doing 4 shows in the season, we would do 3 for them and 1 for us. That's how we do it. Mine was more like 1 or 2 for them and 3 for us. You know what I mean? And when I say for us, I meant it was always about the audience.
Yeah.
But like if I did a Neil Simon, I said, great script. You know what I mean? But it's also for them as well.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of respect for the community of Golden. I mean, the people here have supported us. They came out in droves to support us when we were suffering during the pandemic. They were always there for us before the pandemic, by the way. It's not just suddenly I realized this.
Yeah.
And our audience, by the way, is is like 65% Jefferson County.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just Golden, it's Lakewood, it's Wheat Ridge, it's, Jefferson County, and then 25% Denver. And then the smaller percentages are in Arapahoe and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not just Golden. It's really this kind of suburban West, but also like people, we want theater for anybody.
Yeah.
Fun Home, interestingly, from a producer's perspective, it lost money.
Okay.
It was one of our most successful shows attendance wise, but it lost money because it was so expensive to produce. But I think at the time we figured out, we brought 1,500 new people came into our theater.
Wow.
From that show. And of those 1,500, I think we figured out that 100 of them became subscribers. You know what I mean? That's, and so they were coming from way outside of Golden.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we want to, I'm kind of transitioning here a little bit, but we want to create that on a bigger scale in Golden. Right now, we're in talks with the city about the possibility of building a bigger performing arts center.
Oh, wow.
In Golden, something like the Arvada Center, or, in of that caliber. And it's serious discussions. Nothing's in stone by any means, but it's serious discussions, but because we want to just take what we've done in that smaller space and just make it bigger.
Yeah.
And affect more people, give more people that theater experience they so need. And if they don't need it, they will find out soon enough, right?
Yeah. That's amazing. It's a Ghostlight scoop here. I didn't know anything like that was in the works out there in Golden, but that's fantastic. Congratulations. I hope that this becomes a reality beyond just these.
I think the citizens of Golden have spoken and said they want cultural and more. They want more cultural. They want an arts and cultural center, and they want that. And the city's already bought the property to do it. And it's just, what does it look like? How can everybody be happy? I think the performing arts, there's a good chance will be a big part of it, but even if it's a small part of it, it's a part of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's it's going to be very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question. You brought up a couple of playwrights, Neil Simon, Ken Ludwig, that they've been around forever, and the quality of the material, I think it's hard to question in terms of like, is it good or bad? It's good. It's withstood the test of time for a long time. But do you see a place for them as in a traditional casting world for some of them?
Yeah, I do, but I think you have to go non-traditional. You just have to do it. You know what I mean? You have to cast Oscar in The Odd Couple as a person of color.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? Why not? Okay. You know what I mean? Unless it's literally in the script where he talks about, if it's an integral part of the script that you don't want to change because the play is somehow about race or, something like that. That's different, I guess. But I think anything can be that way. And honestly, when we talk about diversity, say at Miners Alley, it's pretty, we have a pretty white audience, and it's an older white audience. It's been more diverse over the last 3 years, I can tell you that. But overall, it's still the majority is what I just said. But so what we've tried to do, if you look back over the last 3 years, is present plays where we have diverse casts as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like,
your Posner play,
Aaron Posner play, Fairfield.
Yeah.
We were gonna do Once on This Island in 2020, and that had 9 people of color in that cast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Our current season right now, John Moore's play has an Asian actor, a Black actress, a woman, and a man, right? Of the 4 people.
Yeah.
It's I think sometimes I like to take the 2021 season as an aberration, because we've been going more and more for diversity. But what happened in when we were going to do Complete Works, which never got done because we just couldn't get the cast in time. The timelines weren't working with Actors Equity, so we postponed it. But we were going to have a person of color, a woman. 2021 was designed around the pandemic.
Yeah.
Meaning our first show had 2 people. Our next show has 4 people.
Yeah.
Our next show after that has 5 people. And then we have 12 people.
Yeah.
And they were all local playwrights, so we wouldn't, go broke paying all these rights, and all this stuff. So I don't want the greater theater community to judge us by our 2021 season, but even though I think it's going to be relatively diverse, honestly,
It sounds like there's an effort being made there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, yes. I don't believe in traditional casting. I want the best actor in the room. You know what I mean? And that's where it gets sticky. Do you know, and I don't even know if I want to open this can of worms, but where you might want to go diverse, but the best actor in the room wasn't that.
Yeah.
Wasn't
BIPOC.
Wasn't BIPOC, right? So I mean, what do you do? It's a tough role. We're getting through it. Honestly, I think the theater sometimes deserves a little more credit. I know in our industry we're looking, saying, hey, we need to be more diverse. And yes, we do. We can't stop beating that drum. But I think you also have to look at the rest of the world and realize that we've always been, theater has been more on the cutting edge of this than other groups. Are there too many older white guys as artistic and executive directors running theaters? You fucking bet.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's changing, and much more, I think, than other professions, but I could be wrong about that too. But from what I know, from what I hear, it's changing. But, the world's changing. It's changing right in front of our eyes, all this stuff.
Well, it's good to hear that it's your focus. I mean, as hearing a white artistic director of a theater company make those claims. I mean, I think it's crucial.
Yeah, it's proud and loud, man. I mean, we want as many diverse people coming out for our shows as possible, possible.
Yeah, and I would say that just to your point in regards to like it becoming a sticky situation when you want the best person for the job and that person happens to be white. I mean, it's only sticky because for generations we painted ourselves into this corner.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, now it's almost incumbent upon us to kind of tilt the scales in another direction before we can actually look at a meritocracy again.
You know what, Sam? I agree with you. It's hard to do, especially when you it's hard to do as an artist. It's easier for me to do as a producer. It's harder to do as an artist. And I'll tell you why. When I say an artist, I mean like if as an artist, from a director's point of view, you want to cast the best person in the room. The person that creates that power, that synergy, that relationship, that chemistry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Our production of Frankie and Johnny, right? That was pretty much the kind of cast that was in the original production. Yeah. But that a year before or 2 years before, they had done it with Michael Shannon and I can't remember the woman's name, a black actress.
Audra
McDonald.
Yeah.
Audra McDonald. Yeah.
Very cool.
Amazing actress. You know what I mean? So it can be done.
Yeah.
But you got to remember too, we're a very small community. It's not like New York where I can have or Chicago or Miami, where I can just have the pick of the litter of every actor that I want of every race, creed, and color. They're all amazing. It's not like that out here.
Do you feel that the net can be cast wider if different pieces, different voices are accentuated? Like if you shifted, I mean, and I'm not necessarily like, I don't want this to sound like, hey, Len, I'm going to put the onus on you to change theater for the better. I'm not doing that. But it's like, do you feel like the net, we could see more BIPOC actors become available if we're picking BIPOC scripts?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of BIPOC scripts that I actually want to do in 2022.
It's amazing. It's great
but
news.
Again, this is where me being in this role might not be as good as having a BIPOC person in this role. My role as artistic director picking the scripts. Yeah. I read a lot, I'm paying attention to what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I need to like the script. You know what I mean? For
Absolutely.
me, you know what I'm saying? I mean, and as I said, it has to be the kind of theater that we want to do. That great storytelling. I'm not nervous. Honestly, I'm not nervous about offending anybody. I'm not, honestly, we're gonna do high quality, great art. I'm not just gonna have somebody on stage cursing or being naked or saying controversial stuff for the sake of being controversial. I'm not, we're not doing that. So I'm not worried about the work. Does that make sense?
No, yeah.
I'm more worried. I just want to find those great scripts. Fairfield was a great script. Written by a white guy, but still, you know what I mean? It was a great script. Dominique Morisseau, is an amazing playwright. I'd love to do some of her work. You know what I'm saying? So there's great scripts out there, but
and I think I won't belabor the subject too much, but I think you also
it's good to talk about it.
Yeah, but you hit on something that I think is, which I think is going to be indicative of a lot of theaters at this particular time, is just like we are going to adjust our programming because we're coming out of the pandemic. We're starting with smaller casts. We're going to go with people that are probably available in non-equity, or if we do have an equity contract, we can shove that in there or whatever, and then work our way back up. And once we've got our full breadth of options back and available to us in 2022, which is what, fingers crossed, we're hoping for, expecting maybe.
I can't not expect it. You gotta look to the best, deal with shit as it comes down the pike.
Well, I'm so thankful for you going down that road with me. You showed, I'm really touched that you'd be share so much that you have shared with me today.
Oh, dude.
And
I'm an open book. You know what I mean? I can be guarded sometimes, sure, but because I really don't. My fear in all of this, especially when we talk about diversity, is being misunderstood.
Yeah.
It's I'm not angry about it. You know what I learned? I've done a lot of my own homework on all of this. How to say it, whether it's diversity, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's, I've gotten my house egged because of Black Lives Matter sign out in front of my house. I've gotten, my daughter is LGBTQ, and we've seen a lot of crap with that. So I'm out there on it. And the one thing I learned, the biggest lesson I learned, and I give this to any white guy out there, who's especially an older white guy like me, who is
listen up, white people.
Seriously, but who's hearing loud voices saying things need to change. There's certain things wrong. Why aren't you listening? Don't fucking take it personally. It's not about you. Okay? It's not personal. This is the message that this specific group of people is upset about, and they're trying to tell you what it is. If you have nothing to do with it, you don't have to fucking ingest it and just suddenly, no one's calling you a racist. You know what I mean? Listen to what they're saying. You know what I mean? And just, and don't get so upset and personal about it. Try to find out what the problem is and be part of the solution.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Listen to what they're saying and then
and don't take it
actively be
personally.
a part
Everyone
of the
gets so
solution.
personal. Wait, are they saying I'm racist? What? Y'all not, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm so
Mhm.
offended. You know, I can't even walk down the street anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like, just take a chill pill. Don't take it so personally.
Yeah.
It's
There's
not
a lot
about you.
Yeah.
It's about some people have had a really fucked up time for generation upon generation upon generation.
Yeah.
And things need to change, and this is what's happening.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
the only reason why they're taking it personally is because they acknowledge at some level that they have been a part of the problem.
Yeah, I've taken it personally before.
Yeah.
And then I've realized, well, first of all,
What am I
know
doing?
I'm a good person. I know I'm not trying to hurt anybody. So I say to myself, okay, hear the criticism, listen, move forward. And I say move forward, not forget. I mean, move forward.
Yeah.
Advance, make progress.
See where you
do
can
the best
pick up.
you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Len, as we get to this stage in the podcast,
Yeah.
I ask, what is that ghost light you'd leave on for the next generation? What's that thing that you'd tell the next group of artists coming up?
The sagest piece of advice that I have received and that I try to live by in so much of what I do is to become the most interested person in the room, not the most interesting. And that's a tough philosophy, especially for actors. And on some places, I want actors to try to be the most interesting person in the room because it's part of the craft, for God's sake, what they do, you know what I mean? But what's going to get you far in anything you do is to become more interested and stop worrying about being interesting to other people.
Yeah.
And just listen. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Habit 5 says, listen, don't listen with the intent to reply. You're listening seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a mindset. That's how you look at the world. Right? So if I listen to you tell me about, listening to BIPOC voices, I'm not sitting there going, oh, okay, well, clearly he doesn't understand me and all the work I've done for this. He should understand. I'm not taking it personally, right? All that stuff.
Yeah.
I just want to hear what I can do and what I can do better and have the conversation and try to make it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my advice is to really be a good listener. And also, we have a limited amount of time on this earth. What is it from Hamilton where the words are, why does he write like he's running out of time? You know what I mean? Or why does he work like he's running out of time? I think is the words in the song. Yeah. But we are running out of time. But so you just gotta. So don't take it for granted.
Beautiful. Yeah. Len, thank you so much for joining us for episode 72 of the Ghost Lights podcast.
Thank you, and Sam, thank you for doing what you're doing. I look forward to listening as much as soon as you put one out. I'm going to listen to it. So that's what I'm looking forward to, man.
That is great advice to some of my ghosties out there. Subscribe today.
Yeah,
tell your friends.
This is how the podcasting thing works, by the way. Subscribe.
Yeah.
And then post a review. And then things can really start happening for this podcast. So that's what you got to do.
Give me some 5-star likes. Tell your friends, ladies and gentlemen.
Do it especially on iTunes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. They still hold a lot of sway. The numbers on my Podbean website do support iTunes is my #1 contributor to our downloads. Anyway, enough about the business of the podcast. Thank you again, Len. I really appreciate you being on.
Thank you, Sam.
It was a very honest and real conversation, and I learned some things. I hope you had a great time. And with that, Dan, do the damn thing.
that good, Sam?
That was great. Oh, Len, that was amazing. Thank you so much. That was a great pod. Did you have a good time?
Fuck yeah. I realize how much I love talking about this. It's great.
That's why I started the pod. I wanted to hear my own voice.